Hello and welcome to France 24's weekly music show. I'm Jennifer Ben Brahim. Today I'm joined by two talented French musicians. Scott Tixier is a six-time Grammy-winning violinist, composer and professor. He's worked with some of the greatest artists in the world, from Stevie Wonder, Elton John, Beyoncé, Zimmer and Jon Batist, to name but a few. His new solo album, Bonfire, is a radical new approach to jazz improvisation. And speaking of jazz, I'm also joined in the studio by Celia Kameni, one of France's most exciting singers right now. Her inspirations are wide-ranging, from Nina Simone all the way to Björk. She's just won one of the country's top jazz prizes for her beautiful and intimate EP, Meduse, or Medusa in English. Hello to both of you. Thanks for speaking to us on France 24. Now, you both studied at classical music conservatories right here in France. I'm quite interested to know, what were you both growing up listening to at home? Was it classical music? Celia, do you want to start?
Actually, no. I used to listen to a lot of different type of music with my father, like jazz music, African music, Caribbean music. And classical music arrived in my life by the conservatory. Yeah, and I didn't know anything about it before.
What about you, Scott? What were you listening to growing up at home?
I grew up with my mom playing the piano, classical, but also singing some R&B and listening to Stevie Wonder, listening to Aretha Franklin, and eventually a lot of classical music, because at a young age we were doing the conservatory track with my twin brother. So we
also a musician.
Yeah, exactly. He's a pianist, and so we listened to some classical concerto, Mendelssohn, Tchaikovsky, these kind of things. But it was because we were at the conservatory, and my parents were listening to a lot of between Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson, and James Brown, things like this. No, but yeah.
Both quite wide-ranging kind of music being played at home. Now, Scott, I want to talk about your new album, Bonfire, and it really bridges jazz improvisation, cinematic sound, and contemporary composition. And I believe you used some very unusual techniques to record this album. Tell us more about that.
So for this album, I decided to go into the studio with no preparation in a way. No other preparation, but just being in the moment. And I use a pedal, looper, a loop pedal, and I layered myself by recording live, basically multiple layers, and creating a soundscape. And I wanted it to be cinematic and say kind of like a different texture and story for each of the tracks. So it's more like I'm going to record for 4 hours and not stop and improvise for 4 hours. And then at the end of the four hours, I just like listening back and cut 30 minutes into it. And wow, that was like that was the album.
So we listened to one of the very atmospheric tracks, as you're mentioning, very cinematic. This is Black Magic. So that was Black Magic, very beautiful, very soothing, but quite, we were saying just listening to quite like dark.
Yeah, dark energy here.
Yeah. Now, Scott, you moved to the US over 20 years ago to pursue a musical career. And as I mentioned earlier, you've worked with many, many big names in the business. And one of my favorite collaborations of yours was with John Batist.
Oh.
I know you've worked with him on several projects, but especially his Oscar-nominated documentary, American Symphony. Tell us about that experience, what it was like working on such a momentous project with him.
Yeah, well, working with John is always an amazing, for me, inspiration and an inspirational moment, and as well as a moment of growth, because he is actually really, really into the moment and improvisation style of like that I recognize in myself too. And I met John 15 years ago, and when he just arrived in New York, and so when he asked me to be part of his American symphony, it was and do a solo, you know. It was so it was really like almost like a full circle moment. Like he was dealing with a lot of things in his life at that moment with his wife, and dealing with cancer, and he had to juggle between the hospital and rehearsals and coming back to Carnegie Hall and then going back to the hospital. And at the same time, there are like this Netflix people following him around everywhere. And he stayed very grounded and focused on the music. And it was, for me, it was really beautiful to be part of this project, because we really went in a way where he used everybody's skills and talents.
Definitely recommend everyone checking out that documentary. Now, Celia, we'll talk about your new music. Your debut solo EP is called Meduse, or Medusa, a nod to the prominent figure in Greek mythology. What does this choice of title symbolize for you?
A kind of feminine power. This person, this figure is a kind of a feminine power that is kept locked in a way, and I wanted to like express something that is locked inside of me, yeah, and that's why I chose this title, yeah.
We'll listen to one of the tracks off the album. This is I Do.
Memories are like tattoos on my skin. The pain is gone, only remains a charm, and ink is still blue. Blurry are the lines of the reason why I decided to draw this picture of you.
So that was I Do from Celia Kameni's latest EP, Meduse. Now, I believe that song was partly inspired by quite an iconic folk singer, a certain Joni Mitchell. How so?
Of course. Yes, it is. It's inspired by the song Blue in Blue album, Joni Mitchell's album. And I wanted to talk about the memory of the people that are not in my life anymore for many reasons, and the memory of them that is getting blurry with time. And and I think that in a way Joni talk about that kind of subjects in her songs, and I wanted to express that kind of thing.
Now, I believe that you started working as a musician at a very young age, around 19 years old, if I'm correct, with a group, the amazing Keystone Big Band. And that's quite an incredible orchestra made up of about 17 musicians, is that right?
Yeah.
How much of an education was that for you as an up-and-coming musician to work with such a big group?
It's been very important for me to start to work with them, and for a particular reason, that is that they started to play with Cécile McLaurin-Salvant before playing with me. And so when I started, I had all the recordings of her singing the songs I will sing after. And I learned so many things just listening to her. And it was before she won everything. And and it was such a great lesson to play after her with this amazing band. Yeah.
A real education, you could say. Now, speaking of education, Scott, you're also a professor, as I mentioned, at the University of North Texas, and you actually created the first of its kind jazz string program in commercial music. How inspiring is it to work with all these young students? What are the kind of lessons that you teach your students that you wish you were taught at your conservatory?
That's a great question. So the lessons that I'm trying to kind of like transmit to the new generation of musicians and string player, it's how to cultivate an open ear to diverse musical sounds. So focusing, of course, on technique is important, but being able to, at the early stage of your development, looking outside of the traditional route of doing classical when you're a violin player, experimenting with different styles, trying to incorporate them into a broader musical, like I would say, like practice.
Thank both our guests today, Celia and Scott, for coming to speak to us on the show. And you're both on respective tours or shows coming up, so please check their websites. Now, we're going to leave with another big music release this week, and it's a new single from Mobb Deep featuring Georgia Smith and the legendary Nas. It's called Down For You, and it's a track from their latest album, Infinite. Now, that was actually released posthumously after the passing of Prodigy, one half of a rap duo. We'll leave you with that. Now, for more arts and culture, you can head to our website. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
Then I'll be down for you.
For all things relaxing, jacuzzi on the roof out in Singapore, laughing so hard the Clico came out my nose. Ew, priceless memories, I suppose. Pack a few changes of clothes, couple suits, you know, bathing, formal jeans and some boots. We don't do the chancletas, but we do the gooch sandals with the blue and red strap. My crew, we some ghetto dap dons on that luxury hood shit. Audemars, Vacheron, Hugh blow the wrist. Diamonds is for chicks, we distinguish gangsters. It separates us from these wannabe famous wanksters. Be jumping inside the shark tank with black tips, narrow tooth fin, tiger sharks.